What we've got to do now is make sure that this is the best event for not just the city, but the entire region, at the same time recognising that we need to minimise the inconvenience for those residents who are going to be front and centre when the race hits in November.
And he's embracing the art gallery redevelopment, saying it's time.
It's been waiting long enough. I think there's a figure around about $30 million, which is actually required to turn it into everything that it can be.
He'll meet with the Arts Minister in Newcastle this Friday, hoping to secure funding. If there was any doubt how this small lakeside community feels about the development plans for its suburb, this morning should have cleared it up. Coal Point residents mobilising, they say, to preserve their way of life.
We wake up in the morning, that we still have Kookaburra families giving us that alarm clock in the morning. The lorikeets, the flying foxes, the birds, and those bushland qualities and the environmental values. It's something that we enjoy. It's a beautiful place to live.
There are plans to build 19 two-storey dwellings on this 3,500 square metre parcel of land between Excelsior Parade and Brighton Avenue. Residents say many of these trees would make way for the new homes.
This site, although it's a minor ridgeline, technically, it can be seen from a long way away, and it's of tremendous value to those who live here.
Lake Macquarie Council has rejected the proposal from Cardiff-based SNL Building Constructions despite several modifications. It's now in the hands of the Land and Environment Court.
A lot of the trees could be retained, the number of units proposed reduced significantly, and that might well work.
Hopefully we're reaching a point where we can actually get good development outcomes, not just big development outcomes.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
$25,000 from the state, $12,500 from the school, $12,500 from the Upper Hunter Shire Council, $50,000 project here which will give them undercover play areas.
Cameron Neville's 20-year battle with drugs and alcohol started when he was just 13. Over that time, he lost a marriage, a family, and was staring down the barrel of jail time after being charged with firearm and assault offences.
I'd never been in jail before, and it scared the hell out of me. And I just realised I don't want to be like this. This is not the life that I want.
But after a day in court, he got a lifeline when his solicitor handed him a card for the Salvation Army, where he underwent anger management and addiction programs.
If it wasn't for them, I'd either be dead or in a cell.
18 months on, he's now helping others, volunteering 6 days a week. He started helping out in a kitchen, feeding the homeless, and is now involved in several Salvos-run services.
To see the change in him and the transformation in him has been a huge privilege for us.
I told my eldest, who's only 6, a bit over a year ago that he doesn't drink anymore, and he nearly cried. So
that's incredible. Yeah. That's sort of why you're doing this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come May 27 and 28, Cameron will join other volunteers door knocking for the Red Shield appeal, with the Salvos looking to raise $8 million nationally for their community programs. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
Both legal teams walked from court this afternoon, having just wrapped up their respective cases in the murder trial of Gregory Thompson. In closing, Crown Prosecutor Brendan Campbell told the jury 52-year-old Thompson carried out precisely what he threatened to do, which was to destroy anything that made Mrs. Thompson happy. That happened to be this man, her new partner, 48-year-old Michael Mode. Recounting one text message sent by Thompson to his ex-wife, which read, "You know I'll have to kill your boyfriend when I find him," the Crown alleges that's exactly what he did. He found him and he killed him. The prosecution says Thompson planned to murder Mr. Mode at his Cessnock home in the early hours of March 1, parking several streets away to avoid being seen, even taking off his thongs so not to be heard. Defence barrister John Fitzgerald told the jury the accused didn't go to Mr. Mode's house with any murderous intent, rather to say goodbye to his wife. He argued Thompson was only carrying the knives for self-defence and that the attack was due to a loss of control. Mr. Fitzgerald described it as a tragic case and that Michael Mode did not deserve to die, but recounted expert witnesses claiming Thompson was suffering depression at the time of the murder and was substantially impaired. The jury is expected to retire to consider its verdict tomorrow. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Once an unremarkable rooftop at the University of Newcastle, now a field of dreams.
We've just installed our first 100 square metres of printed solar cells on one of the roofs here at the university.
A beacon of hope, perhaps, in dark times of energy uncertainty and soaring prices. Professor Paul Dastor has been working on the technology for the past 15 years, and now he says it's close to commercialisation.
And so we've installed the first 100 square metres to allow us to test and assess how these perform at this really quite massive scale.
It's an Australian first and one of only a handful of sites worldwide. For something so high-tech, the solar material is relatively simple to make. The research team has developed an advanced electronic ink which is printed onto very thin plastic using a conventional press. It's efficient and cheap. Hundreds of metres can be churned out daily for less than $10 a square metre.
Our vision is to see every roof, every building covered in a coating that generates power. That's going to make a big difference, we feel, to our ability to generate power sustainably, but at low cost. It has to be low cost.
If just 10 printers were operating around the clock, the material could power 1,000 homes a day. The technology has major possibilities in poorer countries and also in emergency situations where it could be rolled out quickly for disaster relief. And as the energy crisis bites here at home, it's close to becoming a reality. It'll be tested on a commercial building later this year.
My feeling is that, though, that within the next 2 or 3 years, we will start to see this being commercially available for people to put on their roofs.
It's totally different to surfing your heat. More nervous, I think, when you're surfing for your team or your club, because, yeah, it's not individual. If you lose, it's all on yourself. But if you, kind of do bad, then you've just kind of ruined it all for your club.
With just one win from 27 matches prior to yesterday, the Knights and their fans were entitled to celebrate. Josh King had never been in a winning side in 14 NRL appearances.
Well, obviously you got to win sometime. You can't lose forever. So yeah, I'm ecstatic to get a win. You know, like I've said, I'm honoured to be playing first grade, but to be able to win, especially in front of the home fans, like it's a special feeling.
Dane Gagai will play out the season with Newcastle, but isn't sure what position he'll fill after starting at fullback against the Raiders.
Good being around the middle, and yeah, like I said, it's up to Brownie what he wants to do. But if that's where he wants me, then I'll play there, and if that's what's best for the team, then that's what I'll do.
In some good news, Jacob Saifiti is out of hospital and cleared of major damage, but will still be monitored ahead of the clash with the Panthers. Josh Starling and Lachlan Fitzgibbon also got positive scan results and will face fitness tests later in the week, while King is keen to build on his effort. Last year he juggled league with working in the mines. He's still on track to finish his apprenticeship, but is enjoying his first full-time season with the Knights.
Being able to train full-time has really helped me, you know, as far as getting recovery and being out around the boys a bit more, and obviously getting the coaching side of things. It's really helped my game, I think, compared to last year.
To see it open, to see that it's real, the athletic, the wheelchair lane around the outside, it's fantastic.
It's a huge honour, but I'm just more excited for the community.
It's usually a quiet suburban road. Today, it was anything but. A section of Fieldsend Street at East Maitland became the centre of an emergency operation after an excavator ruptured a gas main just before 9 o'clock.
The problem is that the gas is mixing in with the atmosphere and it's forming an explosive cloud. At this stage, we're not certain how large that cloud is, but we are monitoring it with our equipment.
Around 50 firefighters were at the scene, including a hazmat team from Newcastle, to monitor the volatile situation, while workers from energy company Gemina attempted to isolate the leak. Safety was the priority, with a 100-metre exclusion zone set up.
Well, I was going to walk down to my house and he said you're not allowed to.
As if the leak itself wasn't serious enough, it happened beneath a high-voltage power line.
The danger is that if we get an arc from that power line down to the gas, we could get an explosion.
Emergency services have been forced to shut off power to around a quarter of East Maitland as a safety precaution. Around 30 people have also been evacuated from the nearby area,
including a pregnant woman, several babies. We've had to close a childcare centre down, purely as a precaution only.
Fortunately, the leak was contained safely this afternoon. Workers are now focusing on repairing the main. Renee Feder, NBN News.
The fact that the public-private partnership is still under negotiation, the government's very much making signs that they're not locked in at this stage, which is really pleasing.
Students standing up for their education. Responding to changes to HECS flagged in last week's federal budget.
Education was free throughout the 70s and 80s. A lot of our politicians got free education, and I think it's just fair that we get the same opportunity.
And there's a climate of uncertainty for staff too. A review being undertaken is believed to forecast 170 job cuts.
We were promised regular communications and they stopped about 6 weeks ago, so staff just don't know what's happening.
All this amid the finishing touches to the uni's new inner city campus and a $1.1 million spend on a new branding campaign.
In a context of cuts, and we've been forewarned about future cuts related to the federal government funding and the impact that may have on us and resources for staff and students, and yet there's $1 million to spend on a new branding exercise.
While no one from the university was available to speak to us on camera, in a statement the uni says the $1 million campaign is a way to tell its story, build its reputation and inform future staff, students and researchers. The university says it will provide a further update to staff about the review later this month. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Stockton is famous for its sand. It's also an area of cultural significance for the Worimi people.
The midden sites used to be where Aboriginal people would have a feed, so it's a learning opportunity for us to know how far our people actually travelled.
To celebrate 10 years since 4,000 hectares of land at Stockton Bight was returned to its traditional owners, custodians from across the state travelled to the dunes.
So we can talk about successes, issues, what's happening in everyone's park.
The annual meeting brings together representatives of the state's 30 Aboriginal management committees.
25% of the reserve system in New South Wales is covered by Aboriginal joint management arrangements, so we work with Aboriginal communities for them to manage their country, to manage national parks, to bring the public into those parks so they better understand the cultural values of those parks.
We're getting on with business out here, creating opportunities for people to come out and learn more about Worimi culture.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
On the 8th of June 2007, as Westpac helicopter crews were airlifting men from the stricken Pasha Bulka, Newcastle City lifeguards were in the water below just in case the operation turned sour. It was a synergy that prompted Airman Graham Nickerson's wife Lisa to write a thank you card to the lifeguards, which resurfaced today.
We certainly appreciated what the lifeguards did for us, and just knowing that they were down there in the event that something untoward happened to us or we went for an inadvertent swim, that these guys were always there and going to save our bums.
This is most treasured, and I've kept this in the lifeguard tower. And I knew exactly where it was at when I found out that this event was going to be on today, and I knew Graham was going to be here. And I thought, I'm just going to bring that card down and just remember with him and, say how much it was appreciated.
The memories were flowing at Newcastle Museum amid the video presentations and displays remembering a tumultuous few days. Lord Mayor Nuatali Nelms tried out a virtual reality program that puts people in the helicopter above the ship and in the midst of flooding around the city. Visitors can write down their experiences and pin them to a memory wall, and you can learn the story of this deflated rescue boat called the Pasha Pup, which was stolen and recovered up the Hunter River. The exhibition runs until the 11th of June.
I actually played with Ben in year 2 of the A-League. I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper. But again, there are other goalkeepers that we're strongly looking at. If he's available and wants to play next season in the A-League, we would certainly be interested.
A packed house cheering their arch rivals. It was a typically tough outing in the nation's capital.
That rink's very small and it's definitely a very in-your-face kind of game down there.
The Braves started strong, but Newcastle stayed in the game, chasing down a 3-1 lead in the final quarter, before a late goal saw the hosts win 4-3.
The fact that in the third period we've been able to come back for the last few weeks to either tie it up or come close is a huge positive.
The North Stars used that momentum to post a win against Sydney on Sunday.
It was great to get that win and hopefully it keeps going through.
The side is confident its new players are starting to click ahead of this weekend's home doubleheader.
Our systems have been the same for the last few years, so it's kind of made it easy for them to come in. And our imports are great, not only as hockey players, but people too. So, yeah, it's working really well.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It's nice to actually spend a bit of time with family. It's been a lot of time on the road over the last few months, and hopefully get qualifiers for the World Championships in London at the end of the year and the Commonwealth Games in April next year.
Students turned up to school one morning earlier this month to find this in their playground.
The mysterious object has people asking one question.
What is it? Teachers were just as surprised by the arrival.
I was just as curious as they were, and then the discussion began. What could it be?
So far there are plenty of ideas.
I reckon it's the bottom of the spaceship when it drops off.
This is some sort of spacecraft, if not a satellite dish.
That there might be aliens.
Whatever it is, it's proving popular in the classroom and inspiring students to learn.
I've seen the way that it has generated so much conversation between the students, everyone trying to discover what this mysterious object could be.
To watch the full story or get your school involved, head to our website and we could be coming to your school.
I'm Darcy Bullen.
And I'm Sienna Newsom.
Reporting to you for
NBN News Junior Journos.
You know, I had a lot of conversations with Des about, a number of things, and when we've talked about next year, he very much wants me a part of his plans, and I'm not naive enough to think that won't change, but at the minute, as it stands, I'll be a Bulldog next year.
.30-year-old Scott Edwards appeared via video link from Sydney's Parklea Jail. He was supported by members of his family who were at Newcastle local court to hear his bail application. Edwards is facing 6 counts of aggravated sexual assault on a person under the age of 16. His solicitor, Chris O'Brien, noted the nature and seriousness of the offences. They are serious allegations, but told the court his client maintains his innocence and vehemently denies any wrongdoing. Edwards is the state welterweight champion and was set to defend his title last month. That was until he was charged by police in March. His solicitor today labelled the prosecution case against the boxer as not as apparent as initially thought. However, the police prosecutor argued the accused would pose an unacceptable risk if released. Magistrate Stone agreed, describing the prosecution's case as relatively strong and refused the application, citing the seriousness of the allegations. Edwards is due to face court again next month.
Facing local media for the first time.
This is a legacy issue. We know that.
Defence Minister Maurice Payne, now armed with a message for Canberra.
People who are part of this community, who love this community, some who've lived here for a very long time, want to be empowered to make decisions about what they do in relation to their own futures, on their own properties. That is the message that we will take back today.
It followed an emotional meeting with Red Zone residents, something they've been calling for since news of the chemical contamination broke in September 2015.
There are people that have left their properties that are renting, and they're using their savings so that they can cover their mortgages, and they are just about drained out.
I am supportive of what they've done today, and I will sing their praises for that. But if they let us down, all bets are off.
The Defence Minister was joined by Senator James McGrath, the head of the Prime Minister's task force.
The government is deadly serious about finding a solution.
As for whether that solution includes property buybacks,
it's something that I'm working on at the moment. It's on my desk.
People are trapped. If we were able to find somebody that was prepared to buy a property in this contaminated area, banks won't lend money to them.
At the end of the day, this has been a small win, but we're looking for a much bigger victory.
There comes a time that, I owe this to my family, to be able to spend time with them and the grandchildren, spend time with my wife who, has been accompanying me throughout this term, and that's just wonderful.
they're unforgettable images of one of Newcastle's darkest days. And almost a decade on, flood experts are warning of further devastation.
Wallsend will flood pretty much the same as it did last time. The same would happen with the city of Newcastle.
Ahead of the anniversary of the 2007 storm that swept ashore the Pasha Bulka, claimed 10 lives and caused more than $1.4 billion damage, flood experts from across the world are gathering in Newcastle for a 3-day conference.
Australia only spends 10% of its money on planning and mitigating flood events and 90% on cleaning up afterwards. So we've got to change that mindset with the Australian levels of government and give it more priority to prevention rather than cure.
They say many lessons have been learnt, and while new flood plans are in place for both Newcastle and Wallsend, the infrastructure is lacking.
Replacing bridges is one of the most obvious things in Wallsend and parts of Newcastle. Open up the waterways so the water can get through.
Labor MP Sonia Hornery has been a long-time advocate for flood-proofing Wallsend Centre.
We're on our way and we're working very hard with Newcastle City Council to ensure that that happens as soon as possible. We've certainly written a number of letters to the state government for assistance with them.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
Keeps the links with the past, and it's a very nurturing school. There are kids who need nurturing schools. We can't really afford to do without them.
It was certainly cold enough for the Mark Hughes Foundation beanie in Newcastle today, but where these two are headed, they'll need a lot more.
It's just going to be a trip of a lifetime, no doubt about it.
After conquering Kokoda last year, Mount Everest Base Camp is the next frontier. The charity trek, again the brainchild of Paul Harrigan, will see Knight's all-time greats raise money for the cause.
You see Chief glow when he talks about a few things, but not as much as when he talks about Everest. He's done the base camp.
People and families with brain cancer climb far harder mountains than that, much tougher challenges. So this is nothing, this is a walk in the park.
The Johns brothers, the Gidleys, even 97 premiership coach Mal Reilly is on board.
Joey's saying he's got a few injury concerns, so we've just got the injury watch on him. But look, a lot of these blokes are low maintenance and they'll get the job done.
And there's room for two more. An online auction to join in runs until Sunday. It's a huge week for the Mark Hughes Foundation, with the NRL celebrating Beanies for Brain Cancer round.
It is a bit overwhelming. Everywhere we're looking lately, there's stuff about brain cancer, and that's awesome.
For details on how to bid or support the foundation, just head to its website. Samuel Jordan, NBN News. Mitch Barnett running freely. It's a sight hard to believe, even for Barnett himself.
I prepared sort of for the worst. Sort of went and seen a surgeon, and he just said he wouldn't operate on it, which was good. And I was just constantly getting physio on it, just treatment and icing, and sort of coming in on weekends and doing that Saturday, Sundays, and just had to be aggressive with it and then push through a bit of pain.
Barnett says he was driven by the thought of helping out his mates and getting their season rolling. He believes he's kept his strength and fitness in the layoff. Coach Nathan Brown not hesitating to throw him straight back into the action.
I was a little bit shocked. He brought me he's named me straight back in. It gives me a lot of confidence that, he's shown some faith in me, and I just, I want to repay him and repay the boys.
Jalen Feeney is another night feeling confident, buoyed by his performance against Canberra.
It's only sort of one solid performance that I've had out of my 8 or so, I just want to build week to week.
He's thankful for the chance at halfback and the freedom given to him and Brock Lamb, able to play their natural game.
Flat and fast is my style of footy. I like to play on the front foot. I don't like to play, pre-line. I like to play at the line, and if I'm getting sort of sat on my backside, I'm doing my job. Playing flat and fast footy is what the best in the game do, Cooper Cronk and Jonathan Thurston.
The side is well aware of just how dangerous Penrith can be, hammered 40-0 when the two sides met in round 4.
Ever since then, I know the boys worked really hard to try and not let that happen again, and I think every game since that, we've been in it.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
A Russian winter is a world away from the sunny skies of Australia. But Katie Ray Ebzery has no regrets about her 8-month stint with Dynamo Moscow.
What Russian did you learn? Can you give us some?
I think brevet is hello. Cocktaila, how are you? That's about it.
Leading from point guard, the 27-year-old helped her side to 4th in the Russian league, up 5 places from the previous season and qualifying for the European Cup. Not bad for her first contract overseas, playing for a coach who doesn't speak English.
Luckily, some of my teammates spoke it quite well, so it was a lot of translating, delayed in messages. It was kind of nice to be oblivious to what the coach was saying sometimes during the games, which is a bit different. But yeah, it was manageable by the end.
Back home, Ebzery is focusing on university commitments while keeping fit in the hope of a call-up to the Opals camp in June in the US under new coach Sandy Brondello.
It'll be interesting to see how she approaches things. It'll be her first camp, so we're all just kind of waiting and seeing how she's going to go about it. And yeah, it'll be in Phoenix, so there's some logistics involved as well.
As for her club career, Ebzery is open to a move back to Russia or other leagues in Europe. A professional career in the US is the ultimate goal.
There's an opportunity to go over there and sort of show them what I have and whether that would fit the particular team or not. So yeah, there's definitely possibilities, and that would be the aim, is to make a training camp and then aim to make a team from that.
For more than 80 years, it's been the heart of Maitland Rugby League, the spiritual home of the Pumpkin Pickers. Today, the new look #1 sports ground was revealed, with its redeveloped grandstand officially opened.
I am so proud of, and no, I'm not going to play for the Pickers.
At $8.6 million, the 1,100-seat stand, including dressing rooms, took 10 months to complete.
This will be the envy of a lot of other areas and a lot of other sporting facilities in the Hunter.
Across town, another sporting landmark is changing. Work on Maitland Aquatic Centre's 25-metre heated indoor pool is close to completion.
We got off to a really good start. Probably about 5 months into construction, we were 2 to 3 months ahead of program, so it was looking great. Unfortunately, we've had quite a bit of rain since then.
Come June, the pool will be filled with 800,000 litres of water, ready for people to dive in July.
The next phase of the project will include replacing the change rooms with ones connected to the indoor facility. There are also plans for an indoor water play centre and learn to swim pool. Emma Murphy, NBN News. Angela Pinkowski found and muddied after an exhausting 24 hours. Her elderly parents, both diabetics, were declared fit by paramedics, much to the relief of tired relatives who'd spent hours searching for them.
They're fine. They actually, for what they've been through, they're really good.
The trio left the Lake Macquarie suburb of Cardiff yesterday morning to drive to a property in the Upper Allen River area near Dungog. When they didn't return home by nightfall, Angela's concerned son contacted police. This morning, authorities began an extensive search, enlisting Polair and the SES.
It's very distressing for the family, this situation, and they were actually up all night patrolling areas where they think the missing people were as well.
The area emergency services and family needed to search is quite vast, and out here there's not much phone reception, making things that little bit more difficult.
It's really hard to know what's going on. So you get out so far, you have to come back, get a bit of information and then go again.
Close to 24 hours after they went missing came the good news. Police found the trio at Massey's Creek, where their car had become stuck in a ditch. Angela's attempts to free the vehicle proved fruitless, leaving them with no option but to sleep in the car.
Staying in the forest all night at that age, it's very difficult. So they've been through a bit, but thank goodness they're okay.
Last I heard, she was going out looking for green tree frogs. Why, I don't know. But they come up here every fortnight. And it's not as if it's a new track and they don't know what they're doing. It's just an accident that happened, but it ended up in a good way.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
A family united in strength despite the immeasurable pain it's been forced to face.
This week justice has been served for the vicious and brutal murder of our loved one, Michael Anthony May.
A man Newcastle Supreme Court today heard was the innocent victim of a destructive and dysfunctional domestic dispute caught in the fatal crossfire of an obsessive desire by Gregory John Thompson for his ex-wife, Karen Thompson.
Just one of those things that you would never expect for a family to happen to a family. You hear about it, but it has, and we're just going to try and move on a little bit now.
Thompson was today sentenced to a minimum of 17 years and 7 months for murdering Mr Mode. He was stabbed 10 times in the attack, right in front of his ex-wife and inside his own home. The crimes committed while Thompson was on bail.
Still like to make special thanks to the detectives, the police and also the Crown for all the hard work that they've done in putting this case together.
In their victim impact statements, his mother Colleen said, "When I get up in the morning, I have to remind myself to keep breathing, to keep going." Michael's sister Louise said Thompson's actions had torn our family to pieces, their lives now pure and utter misery. Thompson sat with his head in his hand, staring blankly ahead during the victim impact statements. In sentencing, Supreme Court Judge Peter Hamill noted that there was simply no evidence before him to show that Thompson was remorseful for murdering Mr Mode, including his demeanour in court. Thompson will be eligible for parole in 2032. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
A changing of the guard at Vocal. Robin Cottrell-Jones handing over today to a team she's proud to have built up from very humble beginnings. She started solo in 1994 as a volunteer, motivated by her own experience as a survivor of domestic violence.
I was a victim of a pretty serious matter, and I went through the court experience and I found that extraordinarily stupid, basically.
Over the decades, she's been a champion for victims, some in high-profile cases and many more we've never heard of, but all with an important story.
I've always been a believer that if you tell people the truth, it might be difficult, but it's better than being ambushed, which is what I felt like in the court system. And I guess that's what I set out to achieve, that people wouldn't have that sense of betrayal.
Ms Cottrell-Jones says she's seen change in the system, but not enough.
There are a lot more responses and a lot more money being spent. I'm not necessarily sure it's always being spent in the most sensible way. And I think there's far too many gaps. It's like a moving jigsaw puzzle of life for so many victims.
She'll continue to mentor for Vocal, but her next chapter involves a move to Melbourne.
Well, I'm moving into a very small place and I'm taking work because I'm going to write the book. And my daughter thinks I'm not, and she's about to have a baby. So we will see.
It's guaranteed to be a real page-turner.
This is certainly the highest building in Newcastle. It's a very nicely designed building. We love the look of it.
The big apartments up the top have sold up to nearly $2 million. The one bedders in the block are selling between $450 and $550.
I'm really honoured that I get to be here this weekend to be a part. Netball schedule worked out really well, and yeah, I'm excited to be able to join my family. My granddad passed away from Alzheimer's 2 years ago, so it's something that's close to my heart.
He's a fan favourite and one of the night's best this year, but even that couldn't save Nathan Ross this week.
There certainly is ways you handle it, and I would suggest Rossi didn't handle it in the correct manner.
Did he pay the price for that on the weekend or not?
Oh, look, Baz, we'll keep what we're going to do with that in-house, and we'll move forward.
But it's been confirmed to NBN News that Ross will spend a weekend in reserve grade, with Brendan Elliott to replace him on the wing. It's a potential PR disaster for the coach and club, considering the winger's standing with fans. While he doesn't agree with Ross speaking out, Brown says he can understand his sentiment, given the salary cap is set to skyrocket next season.
We haven't seen this happen probably since the Super League days, and rightly so. Players that are on contract and probably not earning what their current market value is, would like to get a piece of the pie, and we're seeing this at every club. You know, it's not only the Rossi situation.
It may not be the only big change. Jalen Feeney is racing the clock to prove his fitness. He has until Saturday. If he isn't fit, Trent Hodkinson will return.
Hocko's had 2 really good games in reserve grade, and he's obviously, waiting for an opportunity. All being said, Jalen played very well the other day, and you'd like to see him be able to play again. He's earned the right to play again, but rugby league's a bit of a rough game, and sometimes these things happen.
Mitch Barnett will face the Panthers, while Jack Stockwell could replace the injured Anthony Tupou. Today, Brown also commented on the Dane Gagai situation, amid reports he's all but signed with South Sydney.
Well, Gags has handled himself great during the whole situation, and I'm sure he'll continue to handle himself well until a decision's made.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
The Magic was missing plenty of injured players and the New Lambton faithful were hoping for an upset. But the visitors had the early chances. Scott Pettit put the NPL side in front and let the crowd know. Broadmeadow looked most likely to score next, with James Virgili shut down by Josh Cox. The Eagles fans were in fine voice, but their rivals were on song, Cale Bradbury grabbing the Magic second. The home side had 2 chances before the break, but it remained 2-0. The Eagles started brightly in the second half, Josh Casey and Alex Ilo combining to force a save, before Harrison Benbow fired off a solid long-range effort. Against the run of play, Broadmeadow's 2 scorers combined to make it 3-0. Virgili went close to a fourth a minute later. Justin Madalena went closer to scoring for the Eagles. He had another chance late in the game, as did Ilo, but it was Broadmeadow that advanced. The NPL's Eagles had more luck at Darling Street. Kieran Sanders scored a brace to make it 2-0 to the visitors. Hamilton hit back before the break through Tom Davies and Scott Smith. Sanders grabbed a hat-trick to make it 3-1 in the second half. Kane Goodchild and Smith then combined to give Olympic late hope. But Keigo Moriyasu popped up a minute later to knock Hamilton out of the cup.
The Spiegel tent oozes old world charm in Civic Park, but inside it's all Disco 54. We were given a glimpse of the glitz and glamour today, with Marsha Hines taking centre stage.
Marsha, purple sequins, Donna Summer on a Thursday morning.
It's
Can't
all
get
good.
better, can
It's
it?
all good, yeah. Good wake-up call, yeah.
The former local is back, playing a role created for her as the guardian angel of disco.
There's so much in the show. There's a lot of circus, and there's great music and great dancing, and great hula hoop action. And it's a fun show. It's been really great to do.
Tom Oliver takes the audience on a journey as he transforms from a novice to disco devotee.
I think the fact that it's about freedom and just dancing and kind of dancing your problems away, there's no real negatives to disco music, I don't think.
Velvet runs until June 4.